Good evening, I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory. What you're looking at here is a rather dark view of the Twin Bridges looking over into Henderson. Lots of tail lights there. They are still working on that bridge inspection work, so the southbound bridge is still down to one lane overnight. So if you are headed south from Evansville to Henderson, be aware it is slow moving there right now as they do have that bridge down to just one lane. Moving forward weather-wise, what you need to know, it's going to be mostly cloudy, but mainly dry tonight, tomorrow, and maybe even into a good chunk of Sunday. But then mainly Sunday afternoon and evening, then through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, there is a chance of scattered rain, and to top it all off, very cool temperatures. There are some days this next week where our highs are only going to make it into the 50s. So definitely soup or chilly weather coming up over the next few days. We've been tracking these clouds. They rolled in from the west earlier this evening, pushing in right around sunset. So we got through most of the day on Friday with some sunshine. And right as the sun went down, these clouds started to roll in and have kind of taken over. There were a few spotty rain showers off to the west, but you'll notice they didn't make it very far. They kind of rained themselves out pretty quickly as we expected them to. As we go through the rest of the night, I can't rule out a stray sprinkle like this one up in Illinois right now, maybe making it to the tri-state. It's a slim chance, but I wouldn't be shocked if we get a stray sprinkle somewhere overnight tonight under these mostly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, if we get any sunshine at all, it'll be just a brief peak. Generally, Saturday is looking pretty cloudy, but much like tonight, although it'll be cloudy, it's also looking like it'll probably be dry. Again, I can't rule out a stray sprinkle, but probably going to stay dry throughout the day Saturday. There is an isolated chance of rain overnight Saturday night, but again, isolated. I think many of us will stay dry all the way through Sunday morning. Then the rain chances pick up later in the day. Now, this is a change. If you watched yesterday or the day before, initially it looked like this rain was maybe going to push in Sunday morning. It's trending later and later, so it's now seeming like that rain is going to move in late Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening, and the bulk of Sunday's rain is actually going to fall Sunday night during the overnight hours after the sun has already gone down, and that rain will then linger into Monday. Good evening, Suzanne and Mary and Cheyenne. Thank you all for tuning in. We always appreciate your comments. Here's a look at temperatures, and I think this is really interesting because you can almost see where those clouds kind of nosed in, and where the skies are a little clearer, temperatures are already in the mid 40s, but where it's clouded over, we're sitting in the low to mid 50s. This is interesting to me because oftentimes people associate clouds with cooler temperatures, but that's only the case during the day. During the day, the clouds block the sunlight from getting through, and so it keeps you a little bit cooler. Cloudy days are typically cooler, but at night, those clouds act almost like a blanket. They sort of trap the heat from the day, which normally, as soon as the sun goes down, any heat we've picked up, the energy we've gotten from the sun, it just lifts right back out into the atmosphere and our temperatures drop. But when you have clouds overhead, it kind of traps some of that daytime heating. So that's why, like last night, we were talking about that frost because our temperatures, man, they got down low this morning. I think Evansville hit 34, so very chilly out there this morning. But you heard us talking about for frost, it's typically clear, calm, and cold, and it needs to be all three of those things. And part of the reason it needs to be clear is because you need those temperatures to drop very quickly after the sun goes down, and the skies have to be clear for that to happen. And so we're getting a really neat little example of that here with those temperatures just nosediving into the 40s in the areas where the skies are clear, holding on to the low to mid 50s then, excuse me, where it's still clouded up. Now, as we go through the rest of the night, those temperatures will start dipping into the 40s across the board, eventually bottoming out in the low to mid 40s. Keep in mind, for those of you farther east where you're already in the 40s, you may manage to get a little cooler than that, maybe some upper 30s to low 40s there. But generally looking at low to mid 40s for most of the tri-state tonight. That's about 10 degrees warmer than last night, and again, that cloud cover making all the difference there. Tomorrow it stays mostly cloudy through the entire day, but despite the clouds, we'll still manage to get into the low to mid 60s tomorrow afternoon. Again, can't rule out a stray shower, but we'll probably stay dry. If we do get any rain, it would most likely be Saturday night. But we've got rain in the forecast all the way through the middle of next week, so let's talk about it. We have this low pressure system coming in from the west. That's what's pushing these clouds our way, and that is what could bring us some rain Sunday, mainly Sunday night into Monday morning. That low is never actually going to make it to the tri-state, though. It's expected to pass just to our southwest, so we're getting caught up in kind of the outer bands of those rain showers. But as soon as this low pressure system pushes off to the southeast, the next one moves in. So that keeps rain in the forecast then, with this second system bringing us more rain on Tuesday and then lingering over into Wednesday, mainly Wednesday morning, clearing off to the south then with some clearing skies then as we get into Wednesday evening. So there is a chance of rain from Sunday all the way through Wednesday, as we've got two weather systems, one bringing us rain Sunday into Monday, then another one bringing us rain Tuesday into Wednesday. So sort of back-to-back hits there. I do think we'll dry things out for Thursday and next Friday, which is Halloween, so good news there for the trick-or-treaters. The not so great news is you'll probably have to work at least a jacket, maybe a coat into that Halloween costume. Temperatures running very cool this next week, with highs only reaching the upper 50s to low 60s. Now on the nights that it's cloudy, those lows only reach the mid to upper 40s. But notice as the rain starts to move out and the skies start to clear a bit, those low temperatures start to drop again, upper 30s to low 40s by the end of the week, including Halloween night. So again, once the sun goes down, it's going to get real chilly out there on Halloween night. Zach asking about severe thunderstorms or even just thunderstorms. I think both are a bit of a stretch. We will get some rain showers, certainly. I can't rule out a pocket of heavy rain, a few rumbles of thunder. That's plausible. I don't think it's likely. I think we'll get mainly just rain showers. We might get a few thunderstorms. I'm not expecting any severe weather of any kind this next week. As of right now, you know, that can always change, but as of right now, both the system Sunday into Monday and the other one Tuesday into Wednesday looking fairly mild, going to bring us some rain, and that looks like it'll be just about it. Good evening, Ariel. Good evening, Ricky. Yeah, William saying he hit 34 this morning. I think that was the official low at the Evansville airport, but I would have to go back and check. One just kind of interesting note, or maybe it's not interesting. Maybe I just think it's interesting. Today, the sun set at 6 p.m., and the reason that's interesting is that's the last time that's going to happen until March of next year. That's because, well, first of all, the days are getting shorter. So we're already going to dip below 6 p.m., or above it. I don't know, would you call that above or below? The point is it'll be before 6 p.m. So I guess above 6 p.m. starting tomorrow, right? So the sun will set, you know, 5:57, 5:58, something like that, a little bit before 6 p.m. is the point. But then the daylight saving time ends very early this year. You know, it's the first weekend in November. Well, with Halloween being on a Friday, that means that this is next weekend that we're doing the time change. So we've only got 1 week of daylight saving time left. So we see, you know, as those days shorten and the nights lengthen, we're already seeing that sunset dip before 6 p.m. But then a week from now, we do the time change. And so then all of a sudden, you know, a couple weeks from now, it's going to be dark at 4:45. So that is going to be a shock to the senses for some of us. And we'll keep losing daylight until December 21st. That's the shortest day of the year. And that will be an hour and 20 minutes less daylight than what we have out there today. Every time we talk about the time change and the shorter days, somebody always says, why do we do this? Why don't we just stick with daylight saving time? Well, this is why. This is the thinking. Notice up here in the top of the map these little dark spots on the northern end of the U.S. If we were to all just get rid of daylight saving time, there are parts of the country where the sun would not rise until after 9:30 to nearly 10 a.m. during those shortest days of the year there. Here, locally, it's not quite that extreme, but it would be a late start to the day. For most of the tri-state, our latest sunrise, if we stuck with permanent daylight saving time, would be around 8 a.m., a few minutes after 8 a.m. Now, the offset is our earliest sunset would be 5:30. Right now, our earliest sunset as we get deep into December and even into the start of January is around 4:30, which I know nobody's a huge fan of. So if they stuck with daylight saving time, yes, your sunset would get pushed back to 5:30, but that means your sunrise would get pushed back till after 8 a.m. So at that point, you're talking about kids heading off to school, people heading off to work, everybody kind of starting their day in the dark. Which is not really good for safety or for your psyche, for that matter. To have to get up and start your day in the dark really messes with your sort of internal circadian rhythm. And for those of you in Pike and Dubois County in the eastern time zone, at that point, the latest sunrise would be at 9 a.m. That's a very late start to the day. So I know we don't like the 4:30 sunsets. That's a bummer across the board, but this is why. That would be the offset there is, would you rather have 9 a.m. sunrises in parts of the tri-state? Because that's what we would be dealing with if we stuck with daylight saving time all year long. I'm not really sure which one I would prefer. I'm not a big fan of the short days either way. As for our temperatures, I mentioned it's going to be cool. It's actually cooler than normal, which is a bit of a flip of the script, right? The first half of October, it was so warm. We had several days in the 80s. Then this past weekend, we had that strong cold front move through, and we dropped about 20 degrees. We went from the upper 80s one day to the upper 60s the next. And that cooler weather then has just kind of hung around. And with each weather system that moves through, it keeps getting cooler and cooler. So we're now actually trending below average for this last week of October, with those highs only reaching the upper 50s to low 60s. If we look at the extended outlook for the first week of November, the general trend is that we would get back up to at least near to maybe even slightly above average for most of that first week of November. And the precipitation outlook is trending drier than average. So this week is very kind of gloomy. We've got a lot of clouds. We've got multiple days of rain chances, very low temperatures. But once we get kind of up through Halloween and into the first week of November, it does seem like we'll start to generally kind of trend back toward warmer, drier weather. Again, that's not a guarantee that every day in the first week of November would be that way, but that seems to be the general trend. Let's take a quick check-in on the tropics. Tropical storm Melissa with winds of 65 miles an hour, barely moving, almost stationary, moving north at just 2 miles an hour. But over the warm waters of the Caribbean, Melissa is gaining strength, expected to become a Category 1 hurricane very soon, and then eventually, work its way up to a Category 4 hurricane by the start of next week, and then basically hit Jamaica head on from the south here as a Category 4 hurricane, and then continue north and potentially hit Cuba as at least a Category 3, maybe a Category 4 hurricane still, and then crossing over Cuba seems to weaken it a little bit, but as it gets back out into the ocean, then we'll have to see what it would do from that point on. We're talking about a week from now, so it's hard to predict, but this is what we're looking at as far as Melissa is concerned. As of right now, not expecting any direct impacts to the U.S., but this is a very popular place for tourists and cruises and things like that. So some of you may still know people traveling that way, but yes, we are expecting a major hurricane to hit Jamaica almost directly and then move north into Cuba as well. This will likely impact Haiti too. I know that parts of the Dominican Republic have had some heavy rain from this, so a lot of the Caribbean dealing with the impacts from this system. I do see somebody, excuse me, asking about Halloween. I'm gonna have to take a drink. Sorry, folks. Throat's dry. Okay. I've got somebody asking about Halloween. Good evening, Paula. Good evening, Jeff. Darlene, let's get to your question. Halloween. I think it will be a pretty good night, but you need to be prepared for the fact that it's going to be chilly. That kind of seems obvious, in late October, but around here, that's not always the case. We have had years where we are trick-or-treating in short sleeve shirts with no problems. And we've had years where it has snowed on Halloween. Now that's more rare, but it has happened. So this year it is trending cooler than average though. So it's already a cool time of year, but this Halloween does seem particularly chilly. I think there'll be a few clouds still hanging around, especially Friday morning. As we get into Friday afternoon, highs will probably be in the low 60s. So if you're going to be trick-or-treating early, like while the sun is still out, you'll probably have some upper 50s, maybe even some low 60s, depending on how early you're getting out there. But then once the sun sets, it's going to cool off very quickly into the 50s and then the 40s, and we'll eventually bottom out probably in the upper 30s that night. Now we're talking about something that's a week out, so some of the smaller details could still change. Temperatures could easily go up or down a few degrees, but as of right now, it's looking like Halloween will probably be pretty good weather, but it is going to be chilly. Most of us will probably be trick-or-treating in the 50s, maybe even some upper 40s, depending on how late you're out and how quickly those temperatures drop. So, go ahead and start softening the blow now. Let those kids know probably going to have to work a jacket or maybe even a coat into that Halloween costume this year. I know that's always a sensitive subject, putting a coat on over the Halloween costume, but we're going to have to do it. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you all so much for joining us for the 14 First Alert Weather Show. I'll have your forecast again tonight at 10. And also, football highlights. It's Friday night, folks. We've got crews out all over the tri-state right now getting those football highlights for you. And we're going to have all of those details for you on 14 News tonight, at the end of the 10 o'clock news, and then carrying over on our streaming service there. So make sure you tune in for that. And I think that about wraps it up. So thanks so much, and hope you'll join us to 10 and at 10, and everybody have a great weekend.